After 2 episodes of Maul, Shadow Lord, the Maul side of the show is nearly flawless in my opinion. But Disney still does not know how to write Jedi. They're falling into an old habit that has me seriously worried. Let's break it all down. I'm Brandon, and welcome back to Screen News. This series drops us into one of the most chaotic time periods in Star Wars history, roughly a year or two after Revenge of the Sith. The Empire has declared itself, but it hasn't locked down every corner of the galaxy quite yet. Clone troopers are being phased out, stormtroopers are being phased in, and there are still cracks in Imperial control. Cracks where people like Maul can operate. Before we get into breaking down the actual episodes, we need to talk about how good this show actually looks. There's certain points where I paused the episode and it looked like a painting. Like I said in my last video, they literally painted matte paintings, so it has a mix of CGI, anime, and literally a painting brought to life. Dave Filoni described wanting the style to feel more aggressive and edgy than the Clone Wars or Bad Batch, more reflective of Maul's nature. The planet Janix was described by showrunner Matt Michnovitz as 1 part Gotham, 1 part Metropolis, and 100% Star Wars. In my opinion, it is just clearly another Coruscant. So let's get into actually breaking down episode 1. The episode is titled The Dark Revenge. The show opens on Janix, with Maul's crew pulling a heist. Leading the team is Rook Kast, a Mandalorian diehard from the Son of Dathomir comic in Clone Wars Season 7. Her armor is painted red with horns on the helmet to honor Maul, and there is a fan theory that the armorer in the Mandalorian TV show might have actually been one of Maul's followers as well. The crew also includes Zabrak brothers, Scorn, and Icarus. With a name like Icarus, that guy is definitely dying later. The beginning of the show is very reminiscent of a good heist movie, or the beginning of The Dark Knight, when the TDF, likely Tactical Defense Force, this planet's police, corner Maul's crew. Maul descends from his ship. When Maul walks down the ramp, he literally looks like the devil or the Grim Reaper or something. And then some of the best parts of this series is the music. The Duel of Fates comes on, and you're instantly thrown back into the Star Wars universe. Although you saw it in the trailer, you get a very satisfying lightsaber scene right in the first few minutes of the show. Now, during this cool heist scene, this is when we get introduced to Devon Azara and her master, Ekko Diodaki, to the part of the show where I started to have a problem. So Ekko and Devon are surviving on the streets, begging for food, literally standing next to a fruit vendor, hoping for the kindness of strangers. When that fails, Devon steals a piece of fruit, gets caught, and gets arrested for it. And I get it. Order 66 happened, all Jedi have to lay low. But these people, these Jedi, were trained from literal birth in the most elite institution in the galaxy. Jedi weren't just taught how to swing a lightsaber. They were scholars, they were pilots, engineers, healers, diplomats, strategists. A Jedi Padawan had more practical skills by the age of 15 than most people accumulate in their entire life. So you're telling me the best plan you can come up with is being homeless and panhandling on a planet where the Empire hasn't even touched yet, where syndicates are hiring, the police force needs help, and finding a job as a pilot in the Star Wars universe would not be that hard. Be a mechanic, be a medic, be a bouncer at a cantina, for God's sake. And it also diminishes Order 66 itself. How many Jedi did Order 66 leave alive? It was supposed to kill all of the Jedi. And the only Jedi that were supposed to survive were the most elite, the most badass, or the ones that were cunning enough to survive. It just seems like every surviving Jedi after Order 66 is either a traumatized hermit or 1 meal away from starvation. Obi-Wan was working a meat factory job on Tatooine. Cal Kestis was scraping ships. Ahsoka was hiding out doing odd jobs. Now Devon and Ekko are just broke and hungry, like homeless Jedi. The tragedy of Order 66 should be that brilliant, capable people were hunted down despite their ability to blend in. Not that these trained, capable warriors became helpless, homeless hermits as soon as the Jedi fell. Now, Devon's desperation is what makes her vulnerable to Maul's manipulation. If she were thriving, she wouldn't be tempted by a Sith Lord offering her a new path. I do understand the narrative function, I just wish they found a better way to get there. From there, Maul's plan unfolds. He stole from a gangster named Diaz and framed his rival, Var. Maul reprogrammed Diaz's protocol droid to implicate Var, kicking off a shooting war between them. Vario wins, gets arrested, and Maul infiltrates the police station to get him. Because Vario has connections to the real target, Marg Krim, head of the Pike Syndicate. Krim was a part of Maul's Shadow Collective. When Maul told him to go into hiding during the Siege of Mandalore, Krim instead stole chunks of the Syndicate for himself. Now Maul wants revenge and control. The police station infiltration was incredible. Maul tears through guards in another amazing Star Wars hallway fight. When he threatens Vario, you can actually see the reflection of the lightsaber blade in Vario's eyeball. The animation detail in this show is amazing. The episode ends with Maul's shadow literally engulfing Devon in her cell, and she becomes the first person to say his name.
Maul.
To the Jedi still alive in this era, Maul is a boogeyman. He was the first Sith to appear in thousands of years, and he killed Qui-Gon Jinn, rose from the dead, and conquered Mandalore. One of the last Jedi missions before the Purge was to retake Mandalore from Darth Maul. Of course she would know who he is. Here's what makes Episode 1 work to me. Maul is fundamentally different from where we first saw him in the Star Wars universe. In The Phantom Menace, he barely spoke, was silently behind Sidious. Then the Naboo duel, aggressive, reckless fighting. In the Clone Wars, a rage-fueled survivor. Here, he's a chess player. This is a guy who killed 2 Jedi at once on Naboo and only lost because he was too arrogant to finish Obi-Wan off. Now he's engineering gang wars from the shadows and deliberately avoiding fights he could win because fighting isn't the point. Episode 2 picks up mid-prison break with an incredible chase through the city's streets. Ekko Diodaki reveals his power by stopping a transport dead in its tracks. He's disguising himself as an old man with a walking stick, but like Yoda, the frail exterior hides an extremely powerful Force user. And again, instead of fighting, Maul sees what's going on and collapses the bridge, knowing the Jedi code, knowing the Jedi Master would have to save the people instead of going after him. Back at the station, Lawson's superior chief, Slice, drops the ticking clock. If the governor gets nervous, he'll call in the Empire. This adds real political tension. Each planet still has local governors. The Empire is gradually appointing its own governors, and the planet Janix hasn't been fully absorbed yet. Lawson's goals actually align with Maul's. They both want the syndicates disrupted and the Empire kept away. Lawson himself isn't clean either. He has an underworld contact named Marina Salt who feeds him information instead of getting arrested. His marriage is falling apart. He might be morally compromised in more ways than one. Now, Lawson himself seemed like a fine character. Wagner Moura is killing the voice work, but I'm going to be honest, and what has me so nervous is the amount of screen time dedicated to this character in the first 2 episodes. We're following him around in his apartment, watching his domestic problems, sitting through his meetings with informants, and learning about his strained marriage. This show is called Maul Shadow Lord, not Lawson Space Cop. Let's keep it that way. Disney has a nasty habit of doing this over and over and over again. They name a show after a beloved character and then spend half of the show's runtime on somebody else. The Book of Boba Fett turned into The Mandalorian Season 2.5. Kenobi became The Reva Show. And The Mandalorian Season 3 sidelined Din Djarin for Bo-Katan. Every single time the fans walk away saying, I want more of the character whose name is actually the title of the show. And here we go again, 2 episodes into a Maul show, and I'm getting extended scenes about a cop's kid. I'm not saying you have to cut out side characters altogether and cut out Lawson altogether. He works as a lens into this new planet. But the show is called Maul, so give me the majority of the show about Maul. I don't need a B plot about a cop's divorce when there's a Sith Lord that I grew up with my entire life being my favorite character in Star Wars, building a criminal empire right down the street. So I hope they can stay focused on the main character of the show, because this could genuinely be the best material Disney has come out with in years. Maul then forces Vario to help him lure Marg Krim out from hiding, then boards a Pike spice shipment and slices through them, completely inspired by the Vader hallway fight in Rogue One. This was absolutely epic. The Pike captain dies pledging loyalty to Krim rather than begging for his life, showing just how fanatical and formidable this syndicate really is. This is actually what Maul is up against. The emotional climax is the manipulation of Devon. He doesn't threaten her. He asks her, what does it mean for you to be a Jedi guardian of peace and justice in a time of lawlessness? It's the Palpatine-Anakin playbook, presenting the Jedi as inadequate. When Devon calls herself a prisoner, Maul says she's free to leave whenever she wants. But he doesn't open the door. She has to figure it out for herself. Maul's first test. And she does. She leans back against the wall, sees the light through the crack, and realizes the container is open-ended, just shoved against a wall. She uses the Force to push the whole thing, reshaping her contact, so the locked door doesn't even matter anymore. Maul isn't just teaching her to escape the box. He's teaching her that the Jedi code itself is the box. This pairing has been in the works for over 20 years. George Lucas originally envisioned Maul as a crime lord godfather with a Twi'lek apprentice in his planned sequel trilogy. There's also a direct predecessor in the 2017 Maul comic where he encounters a Twi'lek Padawan. They work together before Maul kills her, noting she would have made a good Sith. This visual contrast between horned Zabrak and Twi'lek has been simmering in the Star Wars imagination for over 2 decades, and we're finally going to see it. Here's what excites me the most. If you follow the through line of Star Wars lore, Maul's fate is ultimately to help destroy the Sith, even if he never intends to do so. Crimson Dawn, the syndicate he's building towards, was secretly dedicated to bringing down the Empire. And then there's Vader. In Rebels, when they meet, Maul is visually afraid of Vader. That fear has to come from someone. A past encounter we haven't seen yet? That is exactly what I think. Vader is going to show up in the later episodes of this show, maybe even in season 2, and beat Maul down pretty bad to the point where he's almost dead. A fight that most fans have always visualized seeing forever. Despite my gripes with the show so far, I am liking it, and I do want to see more. The Maul lightsaber scenes make it essential viewing material either way. But I want to know what you guys think. Drop your comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are your predictions for the future episodes? Let me know in the comments down below. Consider subscribing to the channel if you like this video. We have a lot more coming your way. But until then, I'm Brandon. This is Screen Wars, and we'll see you in the next one.